a great study.
Okay.
And what they did was they investigated older people above 55, and they basically said, how many curries do you consume?
Yeah.
And this is run out of Singapore, but it was done on Indian population.
It was run out of Singapore, but on the Indian population. Okay, yeah.
And so they followed it up for 4.5 years. And to summarize it very, very quickly, the consumption of dietary curcumin or turmeric was associated with the maintenance over time of higher functioning attention, short-term working memory, visual spatial ability, language, executive function among older living adults.
Wow.
So it improves all those aspects of mental health after 40. That's just having a curry.
Welcome to the ATP Project. You're with your host, Steve and Jeff. Steve-O, today we are doing, I guess, what I would consider back to our absolute roots.
Yep.
Which is a superfood series on what I consider to be hero ingredients. And if there's one thing that I guess that ATP Science and you and Tony and I absolutely love, it's the heroes within the industry around natural health and wellness. I've been doing a lot of writing and articles and talking to, different people, whether it be, press or investors and all the rest of it, about what ATP Science stands for. And at the heart of the company, what we believe is that nature knows best, that we want to create products that are not only help people in terms of their health and wellness, but also their performance as well too. And if I was to list off probably the top 10 ingredients, this would absolutely be there, probably right at the top of the list. In fact, realistically in the top 5, maybe even top 3. Yeah. Because turmeric is such an incredible compound. And I think a lot of people know about turmeric, but they might not know the specifics of what it's good for, why you should use it, the different applications. Should you use it with black pepper, which is a really, really big one. And there are some reasons why you should. Yep. And there are some reasons, and most of them are why you shouldn't.
Correct.
And this is, again, the whole thing about people flogging a dead horse and finding a round peg and trying to jam it into a square hole. Yeah. If you've got a round hole, sure. But most people are using it for the wrong purpose or have believed something that's not true. And we'll get to that in a minute. But Steve, turmeric, typically considered to be a Ayurvedic. Now, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's Indian sort of, herb. But, I mean, there are all different types of turmeric found all over the world. Steve, you're the expert on the subject matter. Where do you want to start?
We're going to start with curcuma longa, which is the most common one.
Right.
That's the Latin name for it.
Okay.
We just call it turmeric.
And where is that? Do you know where that is actually native?
Well, it's a Sanskrit name, and it's from India.
India.
Yeah, and it was first used 4,500 years ago.
Which is funny because that's about the start of human history.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's, recorded history. It just goes.
I think the recorded history, as far as I understand, goes back to about 5,000 years ago, as far as we understand. Now, people might argue with that and go, we've carbon dated this and all, but I'm talking about in terms of continuous history, we go back about 5,000 years with the Chinese, I believe.
Yeah. And this herb was one of the few, like ginger. It's in the ginger family. Yeah. And it's in the garlic family too. So it's in that sort of area of herbs. They're called warming herbs in Ayurvedic medicine. Right. So they're part of that. Now, the history of it is phenomenal. Now, I got a paper on it. I didn't even print it out of the history on it. It was just too big. Yeah. They use it for ceremonies and, painting things and all this sort of stuff. But I tried to keep it to the medicinal things. And there were 3 areas where they used to use it for. They used to use it for sore joints. They didn't call it arthritis back then, just for sore joints. Yeah. And they were prescribed, curry powders and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. And they were also given for anyone that had any sort of tumours, because they could detect tumours back then. It helped with that. And the other one was any sort of lung disease. So it was the drying herbs, getting rid of mucus.
Yeah, it's funny because I know that they talk about, is it Pitta and Kappa? Like the different...
Vata, Pitta and Kappa.
Vata, Pitta, Kappa. I'm not an expert in Ayurvedic at all. I know enough to get myself in trouble, right?
Yeah, same here.
But they believed in as you say, drying things. So if your lungs were full of fluid, these are the sorts of things that you could utilise to help with that. And it's funny. Can I tell you something really funny?
Yeah.
The other day, I was coming down with... a cold. You know that little thickness you get in the back of your head. Sometimes you get the tickle, which then is horrible, and sometimes you get that thickness and your head starts feeling a little bit stuffy. So I actually stayed home from work yesterday. I was smashing an immune product, which I won't mention, which actually has turmeric in it. But I actually went and got some faux soup from my local Vietnamese. Now, they make a chicken curry that is so full of turmeric and garlic. I don't know if that's traditional or not. I assume that it is.
Yeah.
But I felt so much better the next day. And look, I love supplementation. And again, we're a supplement company. We believe absolutely.
Yeah.
But like, food is your medicine, and let medicine be your food. And turmeric is seriously a superfood.
I have actually got a study where they actually studied the consumption of curry foods.
Yeah, right.
Particularly because I know you like curry foods.
I love curry. Now, I don't like massively spicy curry, so I'm not a huge fan of high chili. And I don't mind Indian. Tony doesn't like Indian food. She finds it too rich. But I really like the sort of subcontinent, Asian sorts of styles and curries and stuff like that. I think they're fantastic.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we'll get to that paper later. The other use they used for it was for melancholy, for anyone feeling down. And this was a doctor of signatures, because if you've ever seen the colour of turmeric, now I know you've got a story to tell us about what happens when there's colour explosions of turmeric and how to clean turmeric.
Yeah. I have to throw the memory back. But yes,
I mean,
it's happy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's joyous.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that yellow colour is what they considered nirvana. It was that ultimate level of joy, peace, serenity. You know, if you look at the monks and all that sort of stuff, they chose that colour. I don't know the history, but maybe it had something to do with turmeric. Who knows?
They figured back then, this is going back 980 minutes, is that the colour of the sun would cheer you up.
Yep.
And there's evidence for that.
100%.
And turmeric, same colour as the sun, so they sort of put the one on one together, and it used to help people.
I just love these kind of things in nature that sort of point us in the right direction, right?
When I was learning about that in naturopathy and iridology, when I was doing this in first year naturopathy, the first thing I thought was, well, this is a load of shit. Well, I'm never going to. I'm totally honest.
Yeah.
I thought, how
the
hell is
that
this?
were listening and it's Mum.
No, I thought it was a load of shit. And then it was homeopathy. I was like, oh, there's a load of shit too. I want to get to the nutrition and the real stuff. And then I found that it actually was true.
Yeah.
Because just through. Like, I remember the final year when we were doing our clinic hours, and we had to do homeopathy clinic hours, and the busiest clinic. The second one was massage. The first one was homeopathy.
I still don't get homeopathy, but I'm open to it. As I said, I used to use a compound called Natmer where it rounds sneezing, and now people say, it's psychosomatic, and you took it. No, I don't care. It worked.
Natmer is for clear mucousy things that taste salty. Natmer is Latin for sodium chloride or salt.
There you go.
So it's designed to treat salty conditions. So when your mucus is very salty and clear, because that's what sodium chloride is.
I'd come near a cat, literally. I was so highly allergic. I'd come anywhere near a cat, clear mucus would be running out. Oh, it's disgusting.
And if your mucus was green, you'd use things like mercury.
Yeah.
That's what we used to use, that homeopathic mercury.
Yeah.
And if it was inflamed, you'd use, nat phosmer and all these sort of things. There was all these different chemicals, and I just thought, all right, I better get through this clinic and just see what happens. And people just were gobsmacked. It worked dramatically. Like, they come back and told me that like you did. The first few I didn't believe, of course.
Well, and again, if you want to look at an expert in Australia, Dr. Isaac Goldie. Oh, yeah. He's brilliant. He's done his PhD. Check him out. Anyway, we digress. So, Steve, back to turmeric.
Yes. Look, turmeric, I've got four sort of areas that I picked on, mainly arthritis, because that's where it's famous for. And it does good. It's
curcuminoids, right?
Yeah, curcuminoids. Now, curcuminoids are the active parts of them that and there's a whole group of chemicals, not just one chemical like a drug. It's a whole bunch of things. And so you're trying to look for ones with high levels of curcuminoids in it. Like you can get up to 95% curcuminoids, which is like what we use, if I'm allowed to say that, in our products, the highest potency ones. So you can use them. And throughout history, it tells us how we should be using it today. And I've always found that. Yeah. For 4,500 years they've used it this way. We're going to, no, you're all idiots for 4,500. It doesn't work like that.
Are you talking about black pepper?
Oh, no, black pepper comes differently.
We'll come down that. We'll come. So if you're listening, and again, for those of you that have maybe heard this before, but we'll delve into the real science behind whether you should, whether you shouldn't. The thing is, you should do both, but depending on the circumstance. But we'll break that down.
The first thing I found about turmeric when I was looking at all this was it was remarkable. I tried to look for side effects. The only thing I found was gastric upset if you have loads and loads of it.
Okay.
But there's no
and
side
what's
effects.
it, just diarrhea?
Yeah, they didn't even get to diarrhea because
right.
it gets, it works with the microbiome, which I'll talk about in a sec.
Okay.
But it's actually good for your gut.
Okay.
Very good for your gut, turmeric, which didn't really surprise me. It's good for everything. And I know a bit about this herb. It's been around for a while and been tested. But so what didn't surprise me and what I was happy to find is there's been some very, very recent meta-analysis on turmeric for joint disorders.
Okay.
And then I thought, it's going to show benefit. That's great. But I found one where they compared it against the strong non-steroidal anti-inflammatories that the doctors give you. So I've tried to see how it compared with those drugs.
Well, the thing, and if I was going to back any horse in a fight in terms of natural medicine versus drugs, turmeric would probably be one that I'd put my money on. It's pretty damn awesome.
Now, I mean, this paper is the seminal one, and I'll just show you for people. Yeah. They're all the individual trials that they looked at.
Huge. So it's a meta-analysis.
Meta-analysis.
Okay.
And there was all sorts of what they call forest graphs, which tells you how it compares with placebo or other drugs and that sort of thing. And in every single way they looked at it with arthritis, depending on the arthritis, they measured. I'll tell you the arthritises they looked at in this study. They looked at ankylosing spondylitis, one I had, rheumatoid arthritis, osteoarthritis, and juvenile idiopathic arthritis. So kids get arthritis for no reason, and gout. So those 5 arthritis conditions and gout.
Okay.
And it was beneficial across the board for all of those compared to a placebo.
How significant, Steve-O?
Very significant. It was like hugely significant. Like here's a value for you. Now, how many zeros are in that p-value?
1, 2, 3, 4, and then a 1.
4 and 1. So less than 1 in 10,000 at this. So that's a hugely significant result.
Yeah.
Hugely significant, and they're all pretty much the same. The pain was triple. Oh, there you go. The WOMAC pain was the same number as the one before. So these are the outcomes for all. Now, there's this one particularly for osteoarthritis. Now, osteoarthritis is a wear and tear thing.
Yeah.
Turmeric is highly beneficial against that.
So is it about inflammation, Steve? Does it support lubrication in the joint? Like, how does it work?
It works mainly by inhibiting what they call the COX-2 enzyme, the
COX-2 inhibitor.
Yeah. Yeah,
right. Which is obviously what the pharmaceutical would have been, because I mean we know COX-2 inhibitors are famous,
absolutely.
if you want to put it that way, within Western medicine. Yeah,
absolutely, and of course it's extremely beneficial. And here's the other thing: they did one study where they combined it with an NSAID, with a drug, and it worked exponentially better. So
that's interesting.
It was equal.
So in other words, the two actually work together.
Correct.
And look, I've heard of this before, but I don't know if pharmacists and doctors are really open to this. But
it should be.
But I heard of this happening with coenzyme Q10 and some things previously that actually enhance the mechanism and action. Now, again, Steve, we believe that nature knows best. You should use nature as a prophylactic as well as a treatment. But Steve, I am certainly open to looking at interactions between Western medicine and these things to actually create specifically short-term treatments that might be really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you reckon?
So, absolutely. So I'll just show you this, and I know people can't see this, unfortunately, but there it is compared to the drug. It's right on the line.
Right. Okay, so this is a side-by-side comparison. It's saying that they are equally as effective.
Yep.
And let's not talk about side effects yet.
Yeah, no, side effects come later. And this is with the drug. It just completely went to the favourable side.
So it improved the effectiveness. What's that number down the bottom there? Is -5. So the
-5, which is a
significant improvement.
Way, well, the p-value for this one is 0.00001.
Wow.
So very, very similar.
Yep.
So let's say you've got joint pain, arthritis, any of those 5. Start with turmeric.
Yeah.
Start with curcuminoids.
Yeah.
I'll get to dosages later, but around about 500 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams of curcuminoids daily work extremely effectively and is very comparable against NSAIDs. Though the advantage turmeric has is the side effects.
Yes.
Now you might think turmeric has no side effects.
No, it does. It's got plenty of side effects.
Plenty of side effects.
But
they're highly beneficial.
There we go.
They're highly beneficial. I'm going to
steal your thunder, Steve, because I get excited.
They are highly.
Typically, people think side effects, and they're like, "Oh no, but it's got side effects." Yeah, but they're good. They're good side effects. Whereas a lot of drugs, as I said, the piper pays you with turmeric as opposed to you having to pay the piper.
Well, NSAIDs have well-known gastric side effects and brain side effects, and they actually destroy your joint side effects. So it damages your joints.
So it's designed to help you and then it hurts you.
Yeah, because COX-2, which are the newer drugs, just mainly inhibit COX-2. They still inhibit COX-1 a little bit. COX-1 is the repairing mechanism of the body.
Right.
So it slows down the repair of the body.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. It's a well-known side effect of NSAIDs.
Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny, Steve? Here we are in a modern world with we're just consistently being just led down the wrong path.
Yeah, exactly. It's really quite crazy. Quite crazy. So do you want me to show you some of the side effects of turmeric?
List them off for me, Steve. Just rattle through them.
All right.
And then we might break these down a little bit further because obviously this is a whole turmeric podcast, but let's go.
Reduces DNA damage, so protects against cancer. Decreases ROS, AST, ALT, DI, so good for your liver.
Right.
Inhibits oxidation, prevents damage to the kidneys, lowers your bad cholesterol, increases the good cholesterol.
Wow.
Prevents the lipid oxidation and benefits the bacterial cell growth in the gut. That's some of the side effects.
I actually didn't know it had that effect on gut health.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. That's a very important aspect of it. Extremely good for the microbiome.
Huh.
Really good for the microbiome. I was
Which is funny, right? Because, I mean, again, I'm always grabbing it for when I've got a cold or when I'm feeling a bit flat. Because, chicken salt for the soup, well, I go for the faux curry.
Yep.
But yeah, and literally the oil on it, and it's just so thick. It's ridiculous. You should see it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Amazing. It's also great for diabetes.
Yeah, right.
In many mechanisms. There's 8 different mechanisms that help diabetics.
Oh, my gosh.
I know. It's like, I was going to read them all out, but look at all that. It's nuts.
Wow.
So it does all sorts of things for diabetes and many other disorders. Now I'll rip through them because there's so many. It's one of those things that we can't really talk about.
Well, and again, look, we're doing a summary today.
Yep.
We could probably do this 2 hours and we'd only be scratching the surface. But if we just hit the main point, Steve-o.
Prevents Alzheimer's disease.
Wow.
Yep.
That's a big call. How much do you have to use for it to have that sort of an effect?
500 milligrams per day. 500 milligrams. Or have one curry.
Or have a curry a day.
Have a curry. Do you want to say? I'll read that study.
A curry in a hurry. What? Well, okay.
So much.
So who uses what? Who uses the most amount of turmeric? Would it be the Indian?
It was the Indians.
Their foods.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, what percentage of? Is there any surveys that have been done on the Indian people with regards to their cognitive fortitude?
This one in my hand.
Are you serious?
Yep. It was published out of Singapore.
People think that we're probably...
I know.
You're asking good questions, right? Or good leading questions because you're sort of setting it up. But I'm definitely catching what you're pitching,
This is
Steve.
a great study. Okay. And what they did was they investigated older people above 55. And they basically said, how many curries do you consume?
Yeah.
And this is run out of Singapore, but it was done on Indian population.
It was run out of Singapore, but on the Indian population. Okay, yeah.
And so they followed it up for 4.5 years. And to summarize it very, very quickly, the consumption of dietary curcumin or turmeric was associated with the maintenance over time of higher functioning attention, short-term working memory, visual spatial ability, language, executive function among older living adults.
Wow.
So it improves all those aspects of mental health after 4. That's just having a curry.
Wow.
So the more people ate the curry, the better off. Yeah. The less it didn't after 4.5 years. So they followed them and they striated them. In other words, they measured all of their effects and so they found the curry to be beneficial.
I wonder what percentage of the population of India who are curry eaters.
Oh yeah.
I wonder what the against say America or Australia. I wonder what the instance of dementia, Alzheimer's.
I reckon to be Indians are highly protected. Now they probably have other factors that are running against them.
Sure,
but I think at least when it comes to turmeric consumption, that's something we can learn from them.
Yeah,
Westerners are crap eaters. We really are.
We eat rubbish.
We had a bowl of candies in front of us from the last podcast.
I didn't eat any of them.
Yeah, it's like, no, we wouldn't eat them, but they're very.
Not that I'm a purist, by the way. I mean, but if I'm going to have something, I'd rather have something that's a bit better, like a dark chocolate, which has actually got antioxidants.
Absolutely.
But you're right. Typically in the West, we're eating pretty,
crappy foods, and we can learn that from them. So, and that was done on curry. Now, interestingly, these were done on curries, but what we also know about turmeric and curcuminoids is they're very poorly absorbed.
Right. Where are you going with this, Steve? Are you going on to my pet subject?
Yes.
Okay. So talk to us about, I don't know where it came about, but people started talking about turmeric and the fact that you must combine it with black pepper to improve bioavailability. Now, if you're a long-term listener to the podcast, you may have heard us talk about it before. But Steve, can you please break down the science as to why most people should not, and the rare occasions why you should?
Yeah, okay. So why you do it with pepper is it's better absorbed, and everyone thinks, well, case closed, because it does. It helps the absorption of curcuminoids. The difference is the mechanism of action occurs in the gut. Mm-hmm. Most of the mechanisms occur in the microbiome.
Yep. And so if you're using black pepper, what's happening is the turmeric effectively is getting absorbed through the stomach, which means then that it's going systemically throughout your body.
Yes.
Now, that's great if you have cancer.
Yes, you can use it for cancer.
But if it's not got black pepper in it, it doesn't get absorbed through the stomach.
That's right.
The turmeric goes down into the intestines, and that's where a lot of the magic happens. In fact, I reckon 9 out of the 10 parts of the magic happens there. Really,
lots of it does. Now I'm going to quote a paper in Nutrients 2021. I'll read the title, Curcumin and its Potential Impact on the Microbiome. Okay, good. So that's an easy one. There's a nice graph here, which I'll just show you very quickly. You can see the graph where there's just this massive interplay. Yeah. Now, the interplay says if you take turmeric, it promotes beneficial strains in the gut. It won't if it's absorbed.
Yes. So if it's absorbed, so black pepper, think through the stomach. Think no black pepper, it gets into the gut. Yep.
It improves intestinal barrier functions. It won't if it's absorbed.
Yep.
Positively alters microbial biodiversity and composition. Mm-hmm. Okay. Won't if it's absorbed. Counteracts the expression of pro-inflammatory mediators in the gut.
Yeah, right.
Won't if it's absorbed.
Sure.
You see what I mean?
So there's a lot of things it's missing out on if it goes through the stomach.
And then then what happens is when it goes through the microbiome, which mainly is in the large intestine, it's the end of the journey, then that's when it goes through what they call transformation of curcumin to demethylation, hydroxylation, and dethioxation, which means it introduces these little metabolites, which then are absorbed in the body, which do all the good things.
And what are some of the good things that they do, Steve? So in other words, effectively through the gut, reminds me of those little possum cat things that I saw in Bali, where they eat the coffee beans and they wait for them to poop them out because they're activated at that point.
Oh, goodness.
It kind of reminds me of that story. And it's a little bit like that for us as well too, is that like all of the cool things that the interaction between the herb and the human body is super unlocking all of these amazing compounds, which then, provide huge amounts of benefits.
Absolutely. Well, one of the benefits is you get better exercise performance if via the microbiome.
Really?
Yep.
How? What is increasing oxygen, VO2 max? Or
it
trying to think how it
improves the bacteroides and the firmicute levels in the gut.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And so you got to remember that the gut microbiome is where everything happens. It's where all the information goes to your brain, and that's what next one's going to be mental health.
Okay.
But it improves all the microbiome in the gut, which improves your athletic performance. Now we know about some of the bugs that improve athletic performance.
Akkermansia.
Yeah. But this improves the bifidobacterium and the firmicute levels and the bacteroides and all these sort of things. So by improving that, you get better exercise performance. Incredible, isn't it?
It is.
And if you absorb it in the small intestine, where it's absorbed, it won't have all these benefits.
So if you take black pepper with your turmeric and it gets absorbed through the stomach, how is that beneficial then for cancer and people with cancer, Steve?
Sure. Curcuminoids can actually directly target cancer cells.
Yeah, right.
So the actual curcuminoid itself can go through the body and meet up with the cancer and basically is cytotoxic towards tumour cells. If you get a petri dish and you put tumour cells in there and you add turmeric to it, they die. It's a chemotherapeutic agent. It's a safe one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in terms then, if you don't take the turmeric with black pepper, are you still getting the anti-carcinogenic, anti-tumor effects if it goes the long way as opposed to the shortcut route?
Very much. Because guess where most cancers are formed in the body?
In the gut?
Yeah. digestive tract.
Really?
So it's more anti-cancer. Yeah, because that's where all the cells are replicating, in the large colon. That's where most cancers occur, and they're very dangerous cancers.
So Steve, is there then any real benefit to taking turmeric with black pepper if that's the case then? Because it seems a bit redundant.
Yeah, if you've got prostatic cancer or breast cancer.
Right.
Yeah, maybe.
Because they're relatively decompartmentalized.
Yeah, exactly.
So you kind of want to go through the bloodstream as opposed through the digestive system.
That's right. It won't hurt to go through the digestive because it still has
both.
positive effects.
Maybe do both.
Yeah, you can do both.
Okay.
But certainly that's not a problem at all.
Okay.
So it's very good. But
what about turmeric paste? What about topical turmeric, Steve? What about for skin cancers? Because that's my pet subject because I've had so many skin cancers, right? But like, what about that? Is there any?
Very good.
Is there?
Yeah.
You stain your skin, but
yeah, I know. It's one thing I thought. I talk about the skin. I didn't bring the papers up, but certainly is beneficial for the skin applying it topically.
I'd like to look into that a little bit more because, as I said, I've got very poor skin, very sun damaged skin. I'd like to have a look at it.
So it's absolutely incredible the effects this has throughout the body and via the gut microbiome. It really is absolutely incredible. I mean, I don't know where to start. It's like, there's another review here. It says the interaction between the gut microbiome and curcuminoid, new key understanding for the health effects of curcuminoid. And this is where the paper where they say that basically that the gut microbiome, the effects turmeric has on the gut microbiome is actually the way that turmeric works in the body.
Yeah, right.
And so this paper's great. It's some beautiful graphs here, which hopefully we can put up on the screen for those who are watching. And it talks about the biotransformation of
favourite
turmeric.
friends, the ones that tune every week to see what Jeff and Steve are wearing.
Yeah, it's very exciting this week, I'll tell you. But there's a nice graph here.
What are you wearing, Steve?
Just black pants and a T-shirt, unfortunately.
At least you put pants on this week.
Well, sometimes I don't, but it's a bit cold in here today, so didn't want to.
Is that your excuse?
That's my only excuse. I mean, this graph here, figure 2, where it talks about the reciprocal relationship between turmeric and the gut microbiome. I mean, Nutrients 2020. I mean, that's an incredible graph, which just shows you that turmeric to the gut microbiome back to turmeric. I mean, and look at the effects on the bottom, the antioxidant, anti-cancer, all the benefits at the bottom there. It just shows you that there is a relationship there. So if you're taking black pepper, you can forget that relationship.
Antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-tumoral, neuroprotective. I mean, seriously. I mean, you're covering 80% of most of the ills that harm the world, right?
And that's via the microbiome, as you can see there. So it's...
anti-inflammatory compounds, natural ones that don't have any negative side effects are just worth their weight in gold. And the anti-inflammatory effects of turmeric must be probably some of the best in the natural world.
Well, they are, because when you compare them even against powerful NSAIDs, which their only job is to be anti-inflammatory, it's just as good.
Wow.
So incredible.
And you're saying that the two of them stack together. Well, this is something for researchers and doctors and that are listening and pharmacists. Not that I don't think we'd have too many unless they're integrated doctors, right? Who love nature. But this is the kind of stuff where nature and science should meet, which I get excited about.
Yeah. So you're going to the doc and you've got this anti-inflammatory and it's not quite cutting it. You need more pain relief. You could, instead of taking more of that, you could just try add turmeric on top of it.
Yeah.
And they work well together.
How many compounds do we know, Steve? How many different compounds are actually found in turmeric? Because it
thousands.
It's
part of the curcuminoid family, though.
Yeah. So, and each curcuminoid could effectively be used to laser target a certain condition. Now, some might argue, well, the part of the benefit is them working as a broad spectrum, but maybe certain ones might be enhanced to focus on a certain condition, Steve.
I'm sure in 10 years, if we do this podcast, we'll be talking about that.
Yeah, right.
There'll be one curcuminoid that's curcuminoid ABC, which does this. But at the moment, the beautiful thing about curcuminoids is it's called a pleiotropic chemical. Do you know what that means?
No.
It means that it works in so many different areas in the body.
Yeah, right.
It's like a molecule that does this and its side effects this and it does this, it does all these benefits. But the main benefit is through the gut microbiome.
Wow.
It just modifies that in such a beneficial way.
Yeah.
Incredible. But by doing that, it has positive effects throughout the body and the brain.
Well, let's talk about the brain.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to mention before we forget, Steve, is what other... We've spoken about potentially mixing it with drugs to get a super effect. Are there any things... And again, people have used black pepper to try and make it more effective, but is there anything that turmeric works particularly well with in terms of a partnership as far as natural medicine or natural compounds are concerned? Is it
Very much so.
Yeah?
They work very well with myrrh. Is very good.
Myrrh?
Yeah.
Like frankincense, like what they gave to baby Jesus.
That's right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's an anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
Oh, boswellia is the Latin name.
Yeah.
So that is an anti-inflammatory. It works well with boswellia and ginger.
Yeah.
And there's lots of drugs that are with those.
Well, and I like it with garlic. As I said, when I'm not feeling well, I mix turmeric with garlic together. And I think garlic is a super cool compound as well too, right? So all the benefits of garlic.
Oh, and there was one study, I didn't bring it up here, but it works well with harpago phytoprocumbens.
What's that?
Oh, devil's claw.
Oh, devil's claw.
Yeah.
Why
sorry.
did you say devil's claw?
Oh, no, I speak Latin and just to show off to the girls.
Just on the weekend.
Just trying to.
Hey,
girls
your
go,
humminess is showing. What's humminess mean again?
Which one?
Humminess?
Humminess.
I think your your honor, isn't it? I forget.
Don't know.
I don't know. Humminess, baby.
Show us your epidermis.
Oh my gosh, Steve.
Dermis, the skin.
Yeah.
Ah.
You can't say that to people nowadays. No. You get locked up, mate.
I'll speak German then. Alzheimer's disease. That's from Germany.
Oh, right.
That's the Dr. Alzheimer.
Did he name it after himself?
Of course he did. And then he forgot about it because he had Alzheimer's. No, he didn't. I know it's
ba-boom.
Oh,
Steve,
no,
that's terrible.
No, but I want to talk about Alzheimer's because that's a German physician who named that. Yeah. It's funny. It was only discovered in the 18th, 19th century. So now it's like the biggest disease in the world.
Is it big? Okay. Is discovery of the disease or diagnosis of the disease improved?
Yeah.
Or has the prevalence of it increased?
I think it's both.
I think it's both too.
Yeah. Because you got to remember there was some people that lived old age, in the 18th century and 17th century. A lot of them did. A lot of them got wiped out when they were young.
Especially if they're in a blue zone.
Yeah, blue zone. We should do a podcast on blue zones.
Yeah. Yeah. Sicily? Is it the island? Is it Crete?
Crete is one of them.
And then there's the Himalayas.
Yeah, there's one in the Himalayas.
There's
Italy.
The one in Japan, which is Okinawa. Which is now they've got a military base there, so I don't know how good that is now. But fish eating, lots of omegas and stuff like that, low sugars.
Lots of it's foods that work very well to keep people. I think there's more centurions there. I think that's the whole thing.
Yeah, and I think in the Himalayas, they're saying they're fathering children into their 80s, right? So they're just like,
it's hope for me yet. No, probably not.
80, Steve, not 800s. Yeah.
Oh goodness. Well, if I got to 800, I might get Alzheimer's by then. And but this is
not if you're having curcumin issue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there is absolutely a plethora of information about it preventing Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
So it's like I was a bit surprised by this one because I knew a joint one, that was arthritis.
In terms of, is this the sort of stuff that they're interested in, or is it basically frozen out because it's not proven as it's quackery? And this is what upsets me so much. I love natural medicine. I love natural health. I love the science. You can't argue this, right? Why do we have to fight? Well, why can't we just all get along?
Why can't
mammals?
I can't believe it because I've got the journal now, and it's not journal from the new magazine from Wop. It's the British Journal of Nutrition, and I'm quoting from it now. I'll show you the picture here, which we can put up on the screen. Look at all the ways that turmeric helps Alzheimer's. Wow. How am I going to put that into a podcast?
I don't know.
So many ways.
I don't know. And look, most of these things you wouldn't understand, but obviously different pathways, detoxification, free radical.
It is great for your reduces antioxidants, reduces beta amyloid plaques in the brain.
Reduces antioxidants, reduces oxygenation stress.
To reduce oxidative stress. Sorry,
I was going to say. Sorry.
Yeah, got that confused. Thanks for clearing that. That would have been an interesting email. Reduces inflammation, of course. Enhances the beta amyloid plaques to be eaten up by the immune system. And it inhibits acetylcholinesterase. So in other words, it increases acetylcholine in the brain. It's very good in many, many other ways. So I won't go into all of them there, but you saw them all there.
And this is part of this gut-brain axis as well, too, that we're really sort of talking about. Turmeric is the king.
It does. And it works, does all these effects via the microbiome.
Yeah.
We've all heard of it. We've done podcasts on that.
So again, people and this is why we get so upset. Is that people that are taking it with black pepper, you're missing out on these benefits, people. So stop that.
I know, stop it. You don't need it. I mean, and these are studies done 1 to 3 to 4 grams of turmeric. Not much.
I feel like Arnold Schwarzenegger in that kindergarten cop where he goes, "Stop it!" and the kid,
oh, that's right.
It spits out the food. You know that part?
Yeah, I just remember.
It's like,
that.
I can just
Not a
remember.
tumor.
Yeah.
So
you probably
I mean,
have a tumor.
It is interesting that because this stuff's so safe and so cheap and so everywhere, it's very, very reasonable to be recommending most people to be having this. Having curries, including in their diet. Firstly,
well, okay. There's no toxicity level that has been established.
Couldn't find one.
There is generally regarded as safe status across the United States, which a lot of the world also recognises as well too. It's got thousands of years of recorded history as food and as medicine. It's found in all over the world. Have we looked much into, and probably haven't, Steve, because but the different types of turmeric. Do you know how many there are? Do you know?
There's lots of them, and I just picked on
and they're different
curcumin.
species. Like you've got different roses, and like different like there's different, even eucalypts. There are different types of eucalypt trees, right? So it would be interesting to see if there are any unique compounds to the different types of turmeric, where they're growing and what they're used for.
It's absolutely incredible because there's so many turmerics, and I've just picked on curcumin longa, which is the one that we use in Australia.
That's probably the most studied, and that's the Indian one, right?
The Indian one, the one that we use. But you're right, it could be all over the place. There could be so many.
Like with ginseng, you've got Korean ginseng, you've got Panax ginseng, and American ginseng,
Malaysian ginseng.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the same thing with this as well. And they all have different compounds and different things that you can use. With Korean ginseng, of course, which is
That's the Panax. That's the really flash one.
So, but like I'm talking about geographical, right? So it could be the same thing with this as well. Anyway, something to have a look into maybe.
It's funny though. When they tested it, like they it's very good for the brain, as we've said. And it's also very good for brain cancer.
Yeah, right.
And that's a tricky one to treat.
So it crosses the blood-brain barrier.
Well, the effects do. There's no curcuminoid in the brain, but the effects from the gut do. Remember the gut-brain
the gut-brain axis, right.
Vagus nerve?
Yep.
It works that way. Isn't that incredible? Now, I'm just going to show you, with cancer, there's a whole lot of cancers and the mechanism of action. Now, have a look at that for a table. Look at all the way it changes beneficially.
Type of effect. And it's just got a page. Downregulation, inhibition, downregulation, inhibition, downregulation, inhibition, downregulation. It's just like goes as far as the eye can see.
There's only one up one, and that's the beneficial one. You want up.
I haven't seen that one yet. Upregulation, activation.
Yeah, you want that one
MAPK,
activated.
MAPK.
Yeah.
What does MAPK do, Steve?
That activates things like apoptosis, which is cellular death.
Which is also found in prevalence with what I was mentioning before.
Yes.
Garlic.
Yes.
Apoptosis is brilliant for effectively seeking, destroying cells.
Yeah. And so really turmeric is one of the golden childs of natural medicine.
No pun intended. Or pun intended.
No, it's golden. So it's a good one. But there is one mystery effect that I want to finish with.
Okay. Like something that they've observed in action, but they don't know how.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Okay, what is it?
It's the one to look out for in the future. But I'm going to mention it because there's preliminary studies on it.
Okay,
you ready for it?
Yeah.
I'll read the title out. Turmeric and weight loss. Does it work? That's a new paper that just came out, new review paper, 2022. Okay. And it found that in animal studies, it does help with weight loss as well.
Well, didn't you mention before, and if I'm going to assume based on what I knew about turmeric, which I could probably fill a page of a book that's in a library, I would imagine, I mean, there's probably multiple ways because of it, but I'd say that one of the standouts would be on the way that it works on blood sugar and insulin.
Yes, very much so. And it does that via the gut microbiome. Yeah. So guess who's not going to benefit from it? The black pepper,
the black pepper crew.
The black pepper crew. So
I feel like it's that Ron Burgundy, like the ABC team versus the San Diego team, right? It's like we're the San Diego team, we're the cool cats, and they're the
absolutely phenomenal. But I love that.
So come at me, black pepper crew.
Well, I don't see a positive way. Like there's really, unless you know what you're doing, keep away from black pepper and turmeric. They're not designed to be put together. Remember, black pepper is just a pepperine that irritates the gut. Yeah. So I don't know what else you're taking with this. You're not usually people just don't take turmeric.
When you're taking pepper cloves, Steve.
Yeah.
I mean, pepper cloves are natural.
Yep.
A small amount of pepper. So if you put pepper on your steak, are you creating a leaky gut?
No, it's not enough. You need that.
What is it?
Bipyranol.
Bipyranol, yes.
And that's the one
easy for you to say.
Yeah, but it's an irritant. And at that strength, they usually get 5-10 milligrams of that.
Yeah.
And that's really, really potent. I'm not saying it's bad, but it will just cause a leaky gut, which means you may get things you don't want. All right, you might get your turmeric.
So basically think of it this way, is that your gut lining is there to prevent a lot of stuff getting into your bloodstream and all the rest of it. If the leaky gut, if you basically create holes in it, nutrients is going to get out into the blood, but what else is going to be getting out there with it?
Exactly. Something might slip in there you don't want in there. So if you create a leaky gut scenario, you're going to get unintended chemicals getting in. Because, it'll get your curcuminoids in there, which is great, and that doesn't do any harm, but you'll get all this other stuff going in there, and you get microbes going in there, and you'll get additives and all sorts of other stuff.
So in summary, in closing, Steve, are we closing?
Yeah, I think we are.
In closing, who should use turmeric?
Everyone.
Yeah.
No, it's the easiest question you ask.
Yeah.
It's still like you should be on it.
Everyone should take it. Huge amounts of gut, huge amounts of brain, no side effects, regarded as safe, considered food, joints. That's where we started, joints.
Joints, that's what it's famous for.
Yeah, but it's so much more.
Oh, it's incredible. I love it. I think everyone should be on it all day.
Yeah.
That's what if when I come to power, everyone's going to have to take a capsule, a red pill. That's going to have turmeric in it.
Yeah, I was going to say. So, Steve-O, we've got some FAQs.
Yeah.
We'll get straight into it without further ado.
Do it.
I do CrossFit and see many athletes using ice baths towards recovery. I do find it helps me and improves my mood. However, I'm wondering if you guys could do a podcast on this topic. I'm super curious about the science behind this and how ice baths and some form of cold therapy can benefit the body. I'm also a cold person. I don't believe I have an autoimmune or thyroid problem, but I still find I'm always colder than others. I'm wondering if some cold therapy like this can be helpful for the body to adapt to the cold and become better at heating itself. Thanks heaps. Hope to hear from you all.
Wow. So, doing a podcast. We did we did a bit of ice bath stuff, didn't we?
We did. I think, the 4-Hour Body by Tim, what's his name?
Damn.
4-Hour Body. He talks about this.
Yeah.
And what he found was, and it's kind of interesting, and I highly recommend that you read the book. There is ways that you can get some of the benefits, maybe 40%, I think he worked out, 40% of the benefit by drinking about a litre of ice cold water first thing in the morning. And I mean ice cold. You know, that's hard during winter, but it certainly does stimulate growth hormone production.
Yeah.
And cold ice baths and all the rest of it do, Steve. Mm-hmm. Do you understand the mechanism of action? And by the way, just before you go there, my wife Tony is a lizard. She literally slows down during winter, which is why I sort of poke fun at her. I can run away because she can't chase me. She needs to sun herself on a rock. I am the opposite. I have Scottish skin, so I am like, as soon as it gets above 30 degrees, I'm literally in a ball of sweat. I just get sticky.
How did you go a week ago when it was stinking hot?
37. I hate it. I hate the heat. Anyway, yeah, so people do run hot and other people run cool. I definitely run hot. Like I'm the opposite of this person here. So there's a 2-part question here. One, what is the mechanism of action for growth hormone production using the ice baths? And again, please, if you're a bit of a sook like me, maybe look at the ice, the litre of ice cold water first thing in the morning. Yeah. But Steve, how does that work?
Sure. When you overshock the body with either overheat or overcooling, the body perceives it as damage. When the body perceives there's damage, it secretes growth hormone to repair the damage.
So would having a sauna have the similar effect?
Yep. And intense exercise and ice baths. So
is there any differentiation between, say, having a sauna, an infrared sauna, and I know there's a difference there, versus having an ice bath for growth hormone?
The ice bath's been more tested for growth hormone release.
Right.
The sauna, as far as I know, doesn't have a lot of data on it for growth hormone release. So it's good for you, though.
So alpha GPC will help, by the way. If you take alpha GPC, that's 4,400% increase in growth hormone. So I'd rather have that. Imagine if you had the ice bath and the alpha GPC at the same time, Steve. What would happen then?
Oh, it'd be great.
I wonder if there's any studies on that.
Oh, I've got to look like that.
Have a look at that.
There's not too many people who want to jump in an ice bath.
No, I certainly don't.
Course, but
again, for for serious athletes like this person.
We should do a podcast on this sort of recovery tech too. We've done one on recoveries before. But ice bath, it's an interesting one.
So do we know what it increases? I mean, just
I don't remember the percentages, no.
But it's significant, though.
Yeah, it was. It was measurable. It was like PO5.
Yeah, and it just comes down to shock.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
The body perceives it as a form of damage. And so, like exercise, you do damage your body. But the body pumps out growth.
But what was funny, though, is that the body produced more growth hormone with cardio. I only learnt this from Steve last week, from cardio as opposed to weights, which you'd think that weights would create more shock on the body.
Well, the higher heart rate might be perceived as, because you got to remember that the weights were not done years ago when all this was going on. So they still the body saw the high heart rate and went, well, something's going on. I've got to repair it. It's pumped out growth hormone.
Tim, what's Tim's last name? So have a look at the 4-Hour Body by Tim. My mate Tim.
Good mate.
As I said, if you want to look at, maybe if you can't hack an ice bath every day, Tim Ferriss. Great, smart guy.
Super guitarist in excess.
Pardon?
Isn't Tim Ferriss a guitarist in excess?
I don't know. Anyway, have a look at that, because that might be something you could do daily, and then maybe do the bath a couple of times if you just don't have the time or the balls for it. Yeah. So have a look at that. Anyway, that might be an option for you. So in terms then of her running cold, what's the deal with that, Steve?
Well, a lot of people do, as you've pointed out. There's just people with very differences.
Doesn't mean autoimmune or thyroid.
No, it doesn't mean autoimmune. No. They could be, if they do a lot of CrossFit, typically it probably means they've got a lean body mass. They've got low body fat, low insulation.
Sure.
And so that's probably why, I'm guessing.
Okay.
And they're very low heart rate because they're very fit.
Okay.
I'm thinking.
All right. Well, hopefully that helps. Next one. Hi, guys. Love the podcast. My question is regarding my sister. She suffers from chronic tonsillitis. Had it well over 50 times in her life, but they still won't take them out. They just prescribed her antibiotics to treat it. Is there anything else that we should be looking at health-wise that could be causing this? Now, what's interesting with regards to tonsillitis is that I know they used to whip them out like whip out your appendix, but now they're starting to slow down a little bit, because my understanding, Steve, and again, I'm not giving advice here, but in terms of commenting on the medical process, is that they understand that tonsils are an amazing first line of defense, and that they do really play a big part in your immune system, correct?
Correct.
So they're loath to do it. But, mate, what's going on here?
Look, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. If you do remove the tonsils, they do open up to more infections, as you correctly point out. So what do you do if they're not going to take them out? Well, we'll assume they're going to stay. The first thing you have to do is probably take something that's going to help your gut. To get, because if you've had 50 lots of antibiotics, you're going to have a dysbiosis. I mean, you can only imagine. And that will slightly help your immune system too via the gut microbiome. But the other thing I'd like to take is something that is really good a natural immune product you can take over a long period of time, with things like turmeric in it that's anti-inflammatory, just to keep the inflammation down and to keep the bacterial infection that causes this at bay. So that's about all you can do at this stage.
My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the tonsil is almost like air filter in a car, right? And that they've got like all these little crevices and stuff like that, and they're effectively, work to filter out the crap. Sometimes infections kind of get embedded in there. Steve, would you recommend? I don't know. I don't know here, but to sort of clean them out. Get in there with a toothbrush. I'm joking, but you know what I mean? Like to sort of clean them out, wash them out, get rid of any of the stuff to help to reset and improve tonsil health.
Yeah.
Could you use something like, a gargle? I mean, my father used to use a salt water gargle all the time. I know that sounds really funny, but are there any herbs? Could you use an artemisia? Could you use which is a Chinese wormwood? Could you use colloidal silver? Could you use something just to gargle to clean out the infection and then work with the body's own immune system to help improve the state of the tonsils?
Topically, essential oils are great for that, like clove oil, and also
Cloves oil.
Poor
Clive wants it back, but clove oil,
is a very good oil.
Actually, you mentioned that for a friend of mine. What was the clove? Who was that for?
That was for a dental infection.
Oh, that was for a tooth. Yeah, that was
very good for that.
That was Jason.
It's really good for streptococcal infections in the gut.
Yeah,
and
you can get that from any of your health food stores.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Yeah, very common.
Clove oil. So would you gargle with that?
Yeah,
like maybe put it into a bit of hot water.
Yep, gargle it.
And then just gargle it. What else, Steve?
You can also use you're not really supposed to use eucalyptus oil. I have, but don't use it because it can be, if you ingest it, it's not good.
It's quite toxic, isn't it?
A lavender oil drop of that's fine too.
Yep.
And that's actually, you can ingest little bits of it, but don't swallow this, spit it out.
Yeah.
And just by gargling it for about 30 seconds to increase the contact time, and that'll get rid of the microbes there. What they'll use at a dentist is chlorhexidine, which is you really don't want to swallow that one. Then you can get chlorhexidine mouthwash if you want the orthodox.
The problem is, right, Steve-O, if you're taking something to kill bugs and you swallow this, it's getting into your gut and it could kill the good bugs.
It does
right?
kill the good bugs.
So this is where you've got to be very careful that you gargle. This is why the salt one I didn't mind, but mind you, that's relatively mild in comparison to something like that. But
a strong salt solution would be good because that causes bacteria to die because they don't like high salinity.
Yeah.
But we can tolerate it. It tastes awful, and you got to spit it all out.
Sure.
Rinse your mouth out afterwards, but it kills the microbes because of the high salinity.
All right. So maybe try that.
Yep.
And as far as the reason for this happening, Steve, is it just ongoing infection?
Yeah, we don't know. Could have a poor immune system, but it's only happening at one area. It could just be something to do with the tonsils, the anatomy, the way that was they were born. So it's probably that, unfortunately.
But potentially look at the oil. What's the oil again?
Clove oil.
Clove oil, not cloves oil.
So you put clove oil, lavender, and salt, and if you really, it'll taste like crap.
Yeah,
but gargle that, and that'll kill the microbes for sure.
Okay. Yeah, the lavender.
I know it tastes awful.
Yeah,
smells good.
Anyway, guys, thank you. Yep. And by the way, thank you for writing in. Please jump onto our website and speak to our team on the live chat, or email us at info@atpscience.com, and we will give you a little thank you gift for having your questions read out. And please, guys, keep the questions coming. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Is that what we do? And if you're watching us on YouTube, sorry,
yes,
but it's better than just listening to us, right?
It is.
And guys, we'll be back next week with some more.